All right. We're getting into the juice now, man. I just got a little piece of crud that flew on my head. That's great. Hi. Final Fantasy V is just a better version of Final Fantasy III, actually. You got the job changing system. I gotta open a window, hang on. You got the job changing system, but you also actually learn passives as you level up the job. You learn new actions and new active abilities as you level up a job. Like, I'll just say this. If you play Final Fantasy Tactics, surely you level up a monk. You plan to eventually turn into a ninja for dual wielding hand-to-hand, because you can actually do that in Tactics. If you're going to play Final Fantasy V, and off the bat, you aren't already preparing a character to become a ranger to learn X-Fight, that you can eventually turn into a ninja and have them dual wield, like the windmill katanas, the swords that attack twice all the time, and then you dual wield those so that every time you attack, you hit 4 times. And then if you use X-Fight to attack twice, you attack 8 times. Where do you think the Kraken Club came from? Just saying. That is one of the de facto ways to play Final Fantasy V. That is one of the ultimate job combinations and setups you can use in that game. And as much as I usually try to avoid meta ways of playing games, I can't help myself. I mean, it's the same thing with Tactics. I always have a hand-to-hand, dual-wielding monk in Tactics, and you always have an X-Fight ninja using those double-hitting katanas so you can hit 8 times. Again, why wouldn't you? I mean, the game basically wants you to break it in half. That's one of the more fun things about Final Fantasy V, is that because it's a Final Fantasy where you don't have hard-line jobs and you get to choose what jobs you use and how you advance them, it's not really the hardest Final Fantasy in my opinion, but it's one of the most fun because of the things you can do in the game. There's all kinds of awesome, cool gear to find all the time that warrants hey, I've been leveling up this job, but I just got this sweet freaking weapon, so I think I'm going to check out this job for a little while, get some points going and some affinity up in that, right? But one of the coolest things about Final Fantasy V, in my opinion, is the 4 Job Fiesta. It's this online event that's been recurrent for many, many years now, and at this point, I think they're actually partnered up with a charity organization. The way the 4 Job Fiesta works is you sign up and you decide how difficult of a run you want to have. And more or less, when you get to a crystal and it's hey, here's a couple new jobs, it will then tell you, here's this job from this crystal. Pick a character. They can only be this job for the rest of the game and they can't change anymore. You're really screwed, though, if you try to play it on hard mode with Berserker Gamble or whatever it's called in there. Because Berserker's not a good job to get stuck on permanently. It can, maybe make some boss fights incredibly difficult, if not nearly impossible, if you don't know how to abuse this game's mechanics and that sort of stuff. My only complaint with Final Fantasy V is that the last boss and the main villain is an effing tree. A tree. Roots, a trunk, branches, twigs, leaves. Using green chlorophyll in the leaves to generate sugars for the trunk off of light from the sun. A tree. Named X-Death. Unfortunately. But hey, keeping in line with the vein of Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy V has multiple world maps, just like Final Fantasy III. And the way it does it is super dope. And I don't think any other Final Fantasy game has ever done this. You have the one world map that you start the game on, and then eventually you go into a secondary world map. But by the time you're done with the second world map, it fuses into the other world map. And now you have a third world map that's a combination of the other two. and it gives you access to places that you couldn't get to before. I actually think that that's one of the best world maps in like any game, any JRPG, because it's in most JRPGs, once you get the boat and the airship, you know, you go around and, oh, I've discovered all the hidden stuff. There's no more hidden stuff to find. But in Final Fantasy V, because here's another world map, here's more stuff on the world map to go discover and find. It's just such a great game. That kind of non-linear, I'm going to go where I want, which not very many Final Fantasy games actually have, by the way. It's something that you saw in Final Fantasy 1. It's a little more pronounced in Final Fantasy V, because there's a lot of extra secret hidden stuff you can go find and mess around with. Great game. I love games where you get to design your own party, and Final Fantasy V just always feels really fun to try out new party setups with, and I'm going to try this job with these subclass abilities. Oh yeah. I mean, I mentioned, Ranger putting X-Fight on Ninja. Just to clarify, the whole concept of a sub-job system used in Final Fantasy XI, pretty sure it got its origin from Final Fantasy V, because you can equip abilities and passives and that sort of stuff from other jobs onto something else that doesn't naturally learn it. And, yeah, it's freaking fire. Here's one that's probably going to irritate or make some people raise their eyebrows, that this is basically in the middle of the list, but that is in no way me saying that Final Fantasy VI is a mid-game. Very unfortunately, when Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger came out, this is around the era that my brother and I started working in my dad's cabinet shop and at construction sites. This is around the time that my brother and I no longer split the cost of games. And so my brother decided that because he bought Final Fantasy VI, that every save file on the cartridge belonged to him, and I couldn't use even a single one of them. And when I asked if I can buy my own copy of Final Fantasy VI, I was met with, you don't need to buy the same game twice, so you're not allowed to waste your money. But then every time I asked, so I can't play Final Fantasy VI, I can't have a save file on it, I can't buy the game with my own money, so I never got to play Final Fantasy VI. You can thank my family for that. No matter how much I, threw a fit about it, because I didn't think that was very fair, the way everything came about from that. I have zero nostalgia for Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger. I never played them when I was young. Again, you could thank my family for that. It wasn't my choice. So, it's hard for me to, love Final Fantasy VI. I can appreciate Final Fantasy VI. I respect Final Fantasy VI. And I enjoy Final Fantasy VI. But I don't love it. Not the way everyone else does, unfortunately. Nonetheless, Final Fantasy VI is the Les Miserables of Final Fantasy games. Honestly, I think it's got the best story of any Final Fantasy game. By far, it has the best cast. The most diverse and the most fleshed out, for that matter. Most every single character in that game is awesome, and I really like them in the way that their plots are written and the way they intertwine with each other. It frickin' owns. It's got literally the best graphics on the entire frickin' Super Nintendo. Yeah, I think it actually has Nobuo Uematsu's finest overall soundtrack composition. If you take the entire soundtrack, every song, and judge them together, I think Final Fantasy VI is the best Final Fantasy soundtrack. It's timeless. It's beyond classic. It's timeless. And I mean, how can you have anything against that game? Again, I didn't play the original, so I don't have the nostalgia for it. But what I will suggest is you check out the Insane Difficulty mod for Final Fantasy VI. I think that makes the game better. I know that might sound heathenish, perhaps a little, blasphemous to some people, because Final Fantasy VI is perfect. It doesn't need to be changed at all. I disagree. I think the Insane Difficulty mod makes it a better game. And you don't even have to play it on the Insane Difficulty. There's actually 2 mods for this game. One of them makes the game effing impossible. The other one is the same stats and HP and defense that enemies had before, but it's got all the new stuff, all the new relics. Gao's rages are a lot more condensed and more fun to use with way less crap skills that you're not going to waste your time on. Cyan's Bushido has been changed. The way the skills work is a little different now and better. Sabin, he has an AoE MP recovery blitz, for crying out loud. He has Mage's Ballad as a monk. If you didn't, I mean, why wouldn't you have Sabin in your party the entire game anyway, as long as you have the option to choose for him to be in there? But he has an MP recovery for the entire party. Dude. Poison is worth casting. I'm not even kidding. Poison. That piece of crap spell that you've probably cast twice in the entire time you've ever played Final Fantasy VI, because it's useless. In this mod, it works like Bio from Final Fantasy IV. It deals a chunk of unaspected magical damage to the enemy and guarantees that it poisons them and deals a very strong damage over time. Even poison is worth using in this mod. Everything is worth using. Everything is worth re-exploring. It's awesome. And I can't recommend it highly enough. But, again, it is what it is. And that's why it's in the middle of this list. Please don't take that as a slight against the game. It's just that I never got to experience it when the rest of y'all did. Sorry. Anyway, hope y'all have a good one. God bless. Peace out.